Welcome back, interlopers. In today's guide we'll cover everything you need to know about hunting max rank multi-tools in No Man's Sky Next. While I already covered this topic about a year ago, the recent updates brought a lot of changes as well as a few more ways to acquire these very rare weapons. This video will be part 1 of a series that will eventually cover starships, freighters, upgrades and everything endgame related as well. So without further ado, sit back, relax and let's get started. In No Man's Sky, your multi-tool is your primary handheld technology. As the name might imply, it has a number of uses including scanning and mining resources as well as combat. At the time of making this guide, you can only ever own one multi-tool at any given time. There are 4 main categories of them as well as 4 different classes, starting with S being the strongest and C being the worst. The multi-tools fall into the 4 categories as I was talking about, with several models in each. So we have pistols, which have bonus in mining, we have rifles with bonus in damage, experimental for scanning and mining, and finally the alien multi-tool, which excels in most of the bonuses, especially in damage. Out of these categories, alien and experimental are the strongest and will also be the main focus of this guide. You also probably realized most folks out there exclusively hunt for these 2 types for exactly this reason. This doesn't mean rifles or pistols aren't good, it's just that these don't really have that good bonuses compared to alien and experimental. Of course, there are dozens of multi-tool models in each category, so hunting for your perfect tool will take some time, but nonetheless, with this guide you cannot fail. I will also quickly cover the types of upgrades, and there are several technologies that can be installed as well as upgrades for them, which can turn your multi-tool in any type of weapon you want. We have the mining beam, which is installed by default and it's used to mine most of the elements, with the exception of those who require the terrain manipulator, such as for example copper. The bolt caster makes your multi-tool behave like your typical assault rifle. Blaze javelin is a charge type weapon that shoots a single beam of light for massive damage. Scatter blaster is your shotgun upgrade with short range and high spread damage. Pulse splitter, which is also the one that I use in combat, shoots projectiles at very high speed and can deal a ton of damage. Geology cannon shoots grenades that can also destroy the environment, including the terrain. We also have the plasma grenades, and finally the terrain manipulator, and it is now more useful than ever, as not only can you edit the terrain itself, but you can also mine certain resources that can only be mined exclusively with this tool. All of these can also be further upgraded using various upgrade modules purchasable from space stations. I will cover all of this in a future video, but now that you know the basics of multi-tools, it's time to cover the subject of acquiring them, specifically the ones that have the maximum rank and thus the best bonuses available. The general rule of thumb that you need to always remember is that the wealthier a system is, the better its loot. This affects literally every acquirable upgrade in the game, not just multi-tools, so starships and freighters are also acquired in a similar way, especially the maximum rank ones. What this means is that whenever you want to actively hunt for a certain multi-tool, you need to do so in a tier 3 of wealth system. This game uses several terminologies, which is why I made a little chart that you can follow, and you can see it on the screen right now, but you can find these on the No Man's Sky wiki as well. Basically, you'll be looking for systems that read as wealthy, opulent, affluent, prosperous, advanced, or anywhere in between these. You'll need an economy scanner for this, of course, so better make sure you have one equipped on your ship. Inside a wealthy system, the multi-tool can be acquired in many ways, not just one. It can be found on planetary outposts, it can be rewarded by NPCs or monoliths, it can spawn inside an anomaly, and starting with the current update, they can also be available on space stations at the multi-tool tech merchant. Most of the time you'll see them being inside the display case, and the primary methods we will focus on in this guide will be acquiring them at the space station and of course planetary outposts. Reason being is because the anomalies as well as the NPCs or the monoliths are way too random to control. But let's move on and you'll find out why. So inside any given system there are several multi-tools that can spawn, which is called a pool. Every planet has its own spawn pool of multi-tools that it draws from when displaying it inside a cabinet. The space station cabinet draws from a pool made out of all the multi-tools in that particular system, while the outpost itself only draws from the ones on the planet it is situated on. There are a few main differences between these 2 locations on top of the spawn pools they are using. Another one would be that unlike outposts, space stations have the advantage of always spawning the same class of multi-tools no matter how many times you reload reload your save game. So if you found a space station that has a max rank multi-tool, it will always display a max rank multi-tool no matter what. Outposts, on the other hand, tend to lose their good spawns when reloaded, or inversely, because that can happen as well, they can also gain a good spawn upon doing so. But the next point I want to mention is that these display cases can be manipulated to show multi-tools from a spawn pool on a different planet. This is the one reason why you see most people telling you to first save and reload on a planet, and only after that go to the space station or to the other outposts on the different planet to get what you're hunting for. It's because of the fact that after reloading whatever planet you were on, the next display cases you encounter in that system will continue to spawn multi-tools from the pool on the planet you saved on. Of course, this doesn't exclude the possibility for a display case to straight up contain the exact multi-tool you want. It's just that it's extremely rare and we need to resort to these types of tricks in order to do it. Similarly with the dialogue options at monoliths or NPCs, they are beyond rare, and in 2 years of playing this game I've only heard of 2 possible locations where you can get these types of multi-tools. But doing it at an outpost or a space station is much easier and brings a little bit more control on our side. So where does this all tie in, you might ask? Well, to make it easier to visualize it, I'll give you 2 examples, one of the space station spawn and one of the outpost spawn. In the case of the outpost spawn, you saw this in a stream a few days back. Basically, someone found an outpost on a planet that immediately spawned a max rank rifle. Of course, we didn't want the rifle because, as I've told you, alien and experimental multi-tools are the best. So what we did is going to another planet inside that system that holds the experimental multi-tool. By saving and reloading on it, we caused the game to spawn from the pool of multi-tools from that planet. Then we went back to the outpost in question, and lo and behold, the display case still contained a max rank multi-tool, but this time around it was a different version. It was the experimental one, which was exactly the one we were searching for. The same concept works on space stations as well. For example, I have found recently a space station in the Galactic Hub that displays a max rank rifle with 24 slots. Knowing it's a guaranteed spawn, I then proceeded to test the planets out one by one to see what types of pulls they had. So I picked a planet, landed on it, saved the game by exiting the ship, and then immediately reloaded that very save file. This made it so that any cabinet I would encounter now would spawn from that exact pool. I then went back to the space station and it now displayed a different max rank multi-tool. In my example, it was a pistol. Of course, the stat bonuses and the inventory slots are all still dependent on the type of multi-tool it is. So for example, a pistol, no matter what rank it is, will never hold 24 slots, unlike any other multi-tool type out there. Since there are multiple planets in a system with multiple possible spawns per planet, I had to do this several times per planet each time. So you can see how this can get very tedious over time. Like, you literally have to test each planet out and see exactly what pull it has. Nobody knows exactly what it has until they test it out, and this is why I wanted to bring the subject up. You can always do this hunt for yourselves. You don't need to rely on others to discover it. Of course, it is way easier if somebody else discovers it and just gives you the steps to follow, but you can do this on yourself, and it can get very tedious, but you can also get very lucky. This method can take quite a lot of time to do, especially since we're hunting specifically for just alien and experimental tools. You will need to run back and forth several times for each planet to see all the types of multi-tools it can spawn, which can be, as I've said, quite time consuming, especially on systems with a lot of planets. But what this means is that we can somewhat control the randomness of all of this as long as one parameter is known, and that is of course the available class. This happens in a similar way with multi-tools as well, as they also have a multi-tool cabinet. You just need to pay attention to it. It's right next to Polo in that circular tube or whatever it is. So whatever is present in the anomaly, it is drawn from the pool in the system it spawned into. That is why last week some folks were lucky enough to find the experimental multi-tool on some anomaly. It was because it was present in the system the anomaly was spawned into, if that makes any sense to you. It was because of the principle we've talked about in this video. And even if you find such a tool on an anomaly, save the coordinates to that system, because that system has a chance to spawn this somewhere on one of its planets. But now that all of this is known to you and you can start doing your own hunts, there are a few tips that I have for you that will tremendously help you with this. First of all, if you travel to a planet using the portal coordinates, then I suggest you place down a base next to the portal. Rename the base so you know the reason you have placed it there. In my example, I've renamed it in order to let me know that there is an alien multitool in that system, and that's the reason I've placed it. Second of all, after doing so, travel back to your original system from where you used the portal from. Use the space station terminus to travel to the new base you've set, and from there continue to search for the multitool. Third of all, whenever you first arrive to the outpost in question, no matter if it's in single player or in multiplayer, just place down a save point to always have it marked on your map so you can later on easily find it. This is especially useful when the online connection is dropping and you can't even see the communication stations, of course if they were even set by others. Fourth of all, if someone invites you in a multiplayer session on the planet that you need to do this trick onto, then go on the space station, save the game by exiting your ship, and then reload the game in single player, and it should appear in the list of portable locations. And lastly, make sure to craft a save point and always carry it with you, especially when saving and reloading from a planet. The manual save occupies the second slot, while the autosave will occupy the first one, and this can be useful to you especially if you go back and forth to test the pulls, as the manual save point will not get overwritten by the other one. So yeah, just carry one with you no matter what you do. Again, this method will be only used when the exact multitool we want doesn't spawn by default, but that can still happen. The alien or experimental multitools can still spawn by default in any location, but it's just very rare. Since Next changed so much, and especially since the universe got a reset, all of the old locations that were known to hold a max rank multitool are pretty much gone as they got wiped out. So yeah, we kinda need to rely on new information, so as long as people keep discovering new multitools and new locations, we will add them to the wiki, or just add them to the list. I will surely cover more of them, and I will make a video that contains probably at least a selection of places where you can find this. So yeah, just look forward for that. I will definitely cover this more, but so far I hope that this video was useful to you, because this is the main way people are hunting for multitools, and now you know, and since you know, you can go and do it for yourself. But keep in mind that a 24 slot max rank tool costs 7.8 million units, of course minus a portion of the cost of your current multitool. So just have a lot of money at hand, and in the next videos, which will cover spaceships and freighters, you will need even more money. So get ready to have a lot of units. I've already made videos on this, and I'm gonna make more on ways to get units in No Man's Sky even better than the ones that we already had. And this sums up all the info there is on acquiring the best multitools out there. If you have more questions, then go ahead and post them in the comment section below. I'll try to help you as much as possible. Also look forward to the next videos in the series, but that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, case in which a like and a subscribe would be super appreciated. Don't forget to activate the notification bell as well, and I'll see you guys next time.